live webinar, Wisdom Wednesday. We are very excited today. We're going to give a little one more minute so we can wait for people to join. We are live streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You can join us also here on Riverside or if whatever platform you prefer. Let's just give it one more minute to see what people are joining, and then we'll just start with our amazing conversation and our amazing guest today. Okay, guys, so let's start. I see more people joining on LinkedIn. So thank you for staying on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. We're just going to go ahead with our webinar. And we're very excited to present today Raja Ramachandran. Hi, Raja. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining today. He is the CTO and also the founder, if I'm not wrong, of Verify Technologies. We are very excited to have you today, and we want to hear a lot about you. We have also Zia Mohi, our COO from CTI, and also we have Gavi, which is our business development leader from CTI. Raja, we are very excited to have you here. How are you today?
Doing very well, and thank you so much for organizing this and having me on.
Awesome. So, Raja, let's just go ahead and talk about, we want to hear your expertise as a founder and also in this idea of technologies and information. So, can you just let us know a little bit about how is your life different now that you own a company and don't work for a company?
It's a lot more. There's a lot more independence working for yourself, obviously, but I'd also say it's a lot more chaotic. In a large company, you have a lot more structure. You have more defined roles. And I worked for about my career is about 25 years now. About 22 of those I've just worked for myself or very small companies. Um, yeah, you'd have very well-defined roles in a large company, whereas in a small company, you have to wear multiple hats and pretty much take on whatever comes along. Um,
How would you feel? How do you feel? How have your responsibilities changed? I feel like you wear every hat now versus you may have worn two or three. How do you feel like those responsibilities have pivoted? And how have you been able to still be as impactful as what you how you used to be?
yeah, I mean the last large company I worked for, maybe it was 1,000 people in the headquarters. There's a sense of a safety net in that if you miss something or there's still several layers of safety to catch. Whereas in a small company, there's a very real sense of something goes wrong, something that you probably missed. There's a lot of real impact, right? But at the same time, there's a lot more chance. Every day could be the day you land a large project, you land a large client, you get the go ahead for something big that you're trying to do. So impact wise, I think working for a smaller company, you don't feel that much as like a little cog in a wheel, right? You have a lot more control. So I would always advise somebody who's a new grad. I would tell them go work for a big company because that is really the sense of it's really completing your education. You don't get to learn a lot of organizational skills at a small company, especially if you're somebody trying to specialize in a very get real deep specialization in a technology or a specific skill. Small company is not the place. Small companies, I say it's a mile wide and an inch deep. Very different skill sets.
Fair. What would you say has been the biggest challenge going from that structured corporate environment to running your own ship? And I have that background as well. I came from Xerox. I spent 8 years there, and it's super structured. I mean, we called it like steering the Titanic. Like in one decision to be made, like everybody had to get in line.
Yeah.
Versus here, we can make a decision in 10 seconds. What would you say has been the biggest transition, the hardest part for you to kind of adjust to?
It's sort of, I mean, I got to clarify. So I started my own business while I was in college, right? I always worked for myself. I worked for a large company and then came back and did my startup about 2020. Um, the biggest challenge is the lack of resources. For all the problems you have in a large company, once you convince the right people and get the go ahead, there's a budget allocated, there is people allocated. Whereas in a small company, it's not so much that are trying to do something. There is a sense of we have to do it, and this is what we have to do it with, and you have to figure out a way which you get creative, and you figure out solutions. So
I can definitely say resources. It was nice to have those. You had a lot of resources you can tap into. And here, your resources are in my office here. This is about all. This is what we've got. So we've got to make do with what we've got. We got to find stuff. But I think it kind of leads into what would be the next question. How have you found the lack of resources has pushed you to use more innovative ideas? And just go with that.
yeah, no, that's what I was about to go. Is so the company we have today, not the cybersecurity one, but I also co-own a fintech company. The last time we did the same fintech company, we launched in 2002. Um, the lack of resources was a real constraint, right? In terms of, let's say, for servers. I used to go buy used hardware on eBay and carry them in my Camry and take it over to a colo center and stay up till 2. Today, I put in my credit card. It's on Amazon. It's done. Even things like the artificial intelligence that we make use of heavily. We get a large contract or a big RFP. We don't need to go out and get a lawyer and get a team of people and do that. You pop it into ChatGPT. It tells you, hey, here are the key elements. So this time, and not to mention a lot of SaaS solutions. I mean, coming back to the cybersecurity side, you wanted a cybersecurity tool in even 2015, 2016. There was a call to a salesperson, a visit, a contract, 6 months, 40, 50 grand. Today, 5 minutes. I set somebody up last week, right? Maybe 30 minutes, you're up and running. So yes, the resources do bite in other areas, but a lot has changed.
And now that you're talking about AI, I think we can move forward with the next question as well. And we want to know, Raja, especially specifically, how do you expect AI is going to affect your business in the future, or how is it affected it now, as you were mentioning before?
Oh, very real right now. I mean, I gave you a couple of examples. So let's take we sign a contract with a client. It used to be that we would get our lawyer, outside counsel, engaged very early, and he's a great guy, but it's $500 a pop. Whereas now we can kind of use AI, go through, kind of find key points, maybe do the first 2 or 3 turns without outside counsel. We still obviously kind of go to the counsel at the very end. Another area in cybersecurity, found out there are a lot of tools, and especially in terms of like threat detection, very simple SaaS tools that you can kind of onboard very easily, has a very real effect on your compliance, makes it very easy if you're getting your PCI or SOC or any other certification. What it would do in a year or 2 or 3, I'm not sure, but all I know is this kind of reminds me of like the late 90s, early 2000s, when the question was, hey, what do you expect the internet to do in 10 years? No, it was already happening. So in this case, it's already happening. It's just, a lot of, and we work with banks a lot of the documentation that required several hours and several people, we do that in literally under 10 minutes now. So it is happening.
How do you see yourself? Or I'm going to ask you a question. If you could get AI to do something now that it's not currently doing, what would you want that to be?
Not to be flippant about it, I'd love for it to manage people, but I think we're far, far away from that. More realistic answer, and I would kind of go into the cybersecurity side. It's very difficult to get a sense of what your current security posture is. Let's say you're, a fintech with 20 people with, a SaaS product. Today, traditionally, you do risk assessments and, kind of have people then go through. I, that's a very necessary first step, but I've never been satisfied with the outcome because you still do not get a sense of here's what's going on. I'd love, and there are products, AI products who claim to do that. I haven't evaluated those, but I'd love for a product to say, hey, here's my AWS login, here's what we're doing, here's my Microsoft, and it goes in, looks at everything, comes back, and one page it says, here's where you are. I'm sure this exists. Like I said, maybe I need to go research that.
And so with that being said, and with things that clearly that's coming down the road, right? Because if you're thinking about it, somebody else is probably working on it, right?
Yeah.
So with that coming out, how do you see that affecting what you're doing for work, and how are you going to be able to capitalize? Hopefully, you don't end up like BlackBerry, where you're going to get replaced replaced. You're taking advantage of it. But what are you doing in that stretch?
Again, sticking with the cybersecurity, information security side, the scary part is not that it's going to replace people. The scary part is people are taking advantage of AI to attack servers, attack infrastructure. Whatever we're doing on the defensive side, I feel like the offensive side is much more ahead of it. The same thing I said about the tool that kind of gives you the security posture. They're doing it to, easily target and find people. I'm sure you come across, the problem of phishing emails and all that. It's getting scary good. So that's the real threat I see, not that, hey, it's going to replace people, which has happened, will always happen.
Awesome. Now we want to hear you a lot of in terms of cybersecurity. And the next question, Raja, is actually, what are you doing in terms of cybersecurity? What's new? What's out there?
What I'm doing, the market I like and the market I'm familiar with is startups and small companies. And there, my generic advice is, just learn to walk before you run. Do these simple, small things that are not getting done. Don't worry about advanced threat actors attacking your systems. Nobody's doing that. But, start with the basics. And this is where, if you're a small company, there really is no knowledge or awareness. I can tell you a small company that I'm familiar with, they had some requirement to be SOC compliant from one of their large clients. They went out, paid somebody a lot of money, and got literally 7 Word documents in return. And there's just no education or awareness. And that's all I'm trying to do, is to say, you don't need to be scared by these large cybersecurity frameworks like PCI and SOC. Just do the basics. Just get a sense of, hey, what am I doing? Where am I vulnerable? The fancy term is risk assessment. Don't even worry about that. Just convince yourself that, this is what I need to do. This is where I need to spend money. Like they say, bad plan is still better than no plan. So really, that's what I'm doing. Trying to get these small companies to recognize that.
So that's a great question. And I would say with a lot of smaller companies, and we actually had this conversation, I think last week, was they don't know what they don't know. They don't think they're big enough. They don't think they're important enough to be at risk. And it was a great conversation we had last week. And they talked specifically, like, every company is valuable. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a company. What do you say, or what would be some things when you say the basics? I hate to break you, most people don't even know what the basics are. It's like going to the gym for the first time. You walk in, you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do here. Do I go do cardio? Do I jump on a bench? They don't know. So if you had to put together like maybe just a couple of things for them to do, what would you say are the basics? What are the basic things that a small company should do to help protect themselves?
Sure. Before I go into, what I think are the top two or three things, the point about, and I've heard this before, that's why I talk about it, the point about, hey, we're nobody, we're not important, nobody is targeting us. You're right, nobody's specifically targeting you, but somebody who is building a bot to do ransomware attacks, they don't care who you are, they don't know you. It's just going to find something on your server. If it can get in, they lock up your data, and they're not even aware of who you are. If you pay them money, they release it, hopefully. So that's the part. But to your question about, what are the top three things? Just start with, again, I hate using the fancy term, risk assessment or anything, because then people quickly go into, oh, there's this big framework and we can't afford it. Just saying, just write down what are your servers, where do you have, is it hopefully not a server, a physical server in your office, but if it is, where are you vulnerable? At least pick the top one or two places, run through scenarios to say, hey, what happens if my employee clicks on a phishing email and all of our data is encrypted and locked up? What do you do? Just start there. The second key thing I would say, especially for small companies, is just focus on employee training, user training. I feel like that's an easier step than some of the larger things you can do around controls and implementing access controls, which can come further down. But the number of employees who would click at any email that comes in, any attachment, that's low-hanging fruit you can quickly address. And again, going back to our earlier point, literally less than a couple of $100 a year to do that. So no reason for anybody not to be doing that.
Wonderful. Now, before we move on to questions, because we do have a lot of questions, Raja, from YouTube and everybody on LinkedIn and here. So we just want to ask you, what do you do? No, what do you wish you knew then that you know now as a founder, as entrepreneur, as everything?
Oh, wow. I'll just say in terms of general business advice, you know, sales is everything. I wish somebody had sat me down when I was all about technology and my technology is so cool. And, I tried to do this startup with, back when tablets were first coming around industrial controls, and it was so awesome and cool. Nobody cared because I couldn't reach anybody. So that's what I would say. And there's a lot of things people say, oh, don't do short-term thinking and do long-term thinking. I would say, no, especially if you're a startup, if you're a small company, no, think short-term. Worry about the short-term, because if you're not going to be around in 6 months, long-term doesn't matter. So that's what I would say in terms of general business advice. But in terms of just what I wish I knew before was also don't worry about the loss, the client that you lost, or the product that didn't work, or much better things to be thankful for than the promotion you didn't get or anything. It's a big world, plenty of opportunities.
Raja, I'm so happy to hear a CTO, CISO talk about sales, because it's something that we drive on our side every single day. And I know my staff is tired of hearing me say it, but I tell them everybody in this company is in sales. I don't know how else to break it to you, but your job is sales. If you need something from somebody, you have to sell them to get it. So I grew up in a culture where the number one thing that stood out to me was you're at a company, you're either in sales or sales support, meaning you're either selling something or you're helping somebody sell something. He's like, I don't care if you're the janitor here or if you're the CFO of this company, you're either helping us sell or you are selling. And it's one of those things that I guess you don't realize it until you've figured it out. And you're in the same boat. Like, it doesn't matter how great your product is if nobody's buying it, you don't really have a product, do you? Like I say doctors, you could be the best surgeon in the world, but if nobody's on your table, are you really a surgeon? You know how to do it, but if you're not performing the activity, you're not really a doctor. So it's one of those things. I'm really happy that you said that, especially for we have a lot of viewers, a lot of people who look at this who are entrepreneurs, small business owners, and I'm happy you hit that home because I'm in the same boat with you. Your revenues are everything. Your revenues will cover up a lot of your shortcomings, and it also give you the ability to work on them. So like when you have revenues, when you have money to spend, you can fix a problem that you are going to have because growth, the beauty of growth is it's going to lead to other issues that you have. It's going to expose things that weren't really an issue before. So I'm really, really happy that you said that because
No,
I'm happy my staff got to hear you say that.
no, we've had clients, and this is on, the banking side of the product that I work on. We do Visa, MasterCard for businesses. We work with many startups. The startups that come to us and they want to perfect their product. They want it to be perfect. Like, yeah, they got outcompeted by companies who just went to market with a good enough product, maybe not even good enough, and they got traction. And so, yeah, I learned my lesson, and hopefully, it's not too late. So,
It's something I think, what do they call it? Paralysis by analysis, or if you're going to wait for
yeah,
the project, it'll just never happen. Last year we ran into a situation where we had a client from an industry we've never worked on before, and they asked us to fill like 150 positions of something we've never even looked at. And everybody looked at us like, how are we supposed to do this? I'm like, guys, this is a blessing for us. We need to figure this out. So it kind of pushes you to figuring it out. And I feel like it helps evolve your company. So, and one thing I always think of is it doesn't matter what you're doing today. Tomorrow, your company can change. Your team can change. Everything can change tomorrow because hell, AI can come up with some new thing tomorrow. We're all like, whoa, wait a second. Like everybody who aspired to be a McDonald's employee at the cash register, hey, Brady, that dream is gone because now it's all automated. So
yeah,
as things continue to automate, like companies are going to change, skills are going to have to change, and it's one of those cool things where you just have to be in front of it. And I'm sure you're dealing with
Right.
that every day.
And the importance of adaptation too, how important it is to adapt to these new trends and technologies. Raja, thank you so much. Now we're just going to give the microphone to Gavi. We have a lot of questions, so Gavi, go ahead, so to see if we can
Okay,
answer them all.
my favorite part. Okay, we're going to start. So the first one is, how do you see AI impacting the recruitment process, especially when it comes to finding the right talent for remote positions?
I'm sorry, kind of broke up there. Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, sure. How do you see AI impacting the recruitment process, especially when it comes to finding the right talent for remote positions?
Oh, wow. I worked in recruiting for about 6 months when I was in school. So, and this was 20 years ago. So I may be wildly out of date. I just take the generic idea of, AI is good at sort of, gathering a lot of information, summarizing it, and matching it with other information. When I used to do that, we used to get requirements from like IBM and big banks, and it'd be like, half a page long. And we'd literally go through 50 resumes, open Word documents, and sort of see, if whether it matches. I'm sure it's much more advanced today. But I, again, like Zia said, if we're talking about it, there's a product out there today that does it. So, yeah, I see. I'm kind of more interested on the applicant side, how AI could help, because I'm sure nobody likes the process of, applying for 50 jobs and going through the screens of every company, which is slightly different. So maybe there's an opportunity just to, help you with your resume and help you find the right company.
Thank you, Raja. Okay, the next one is, what strategies are companies putting in place to make cybersecurity affordable to every kind of industry?
Um, if I heard it correctly, they're saying what kind of strategies companies could put in place. Um, and again, I'm sticking to my world of, small and medium sized companies. Uh, the very first step is for them to just get familiar with just the landscape. For instance, just acknowledge that this is a big problem that is happening, not just something you're sort of reading in the news. Um, and getting the upper management to just really care, that we do need a plan. Whatever the budget is, whatever the bandwidth is right now, just start with, again, a bad plan is still better than no plan. Start there. Specifically, if you're a company in the middle of it, if just see if it is driven by like an industry standard like PCI, where it's a very well-defined roadmap. You pretty much have to follow what they say. If you're a company that does not have an industry standard like that, plenty of standards, especially by the National Institute of Science and Technology. They have frameworks that you can adapt. Pick a framework, pick a CISO who can help you with all of that, and start there.
Thank you. I know that you already talked a little bit about this topic, but again, like for companies adopting AI, what's the most common mistake they should avoid?
I'm sure everybody who's used AI has seen the hallucinations and the mistakes it make. I use a lot of AI, especially if I have a technology issue, go to AI. I still see a lot of mistakes. So there's the error of we're going to use AI and we're just going to blindly trust what it says and go with it. The second thing I'm really scared about is, while I'd like all the employees to leverage AI, I'm also scared about information getting out to the world through AI. People don't realize that, unless you're using the tool you're using and what their privacy policies are, everything you put in there is going out in the world. It is going to become public information. So those are the two I can think of, some of the dangers.
Yeah, and it's scary. And this one, the next and last question. How can smaller businesses keep up with the rapidly changing landscape of cybersecurity?
It's actually a lot easier for smaller companies now than it was, 5-10 years ago. The company I was responsible for in 2008, when we had to implement cybersecurity, most large companies, governing bodies, did not even have the idea that small companies exist, and that they had no pathway to implement some of the controls, right? Because it would need like 5 people, and we only had 2 people. Today you can leverage a lot of software as a service products, SaaS products. Again, not a lot of dollars. Like the favorite one I have and I promote anywhere is called KnowBe4. Really good product to have like a continuing training for your users about cybersecurity. Costs very little. And it's a great product because the biggest problem small businesses have is their employees clicking on, phishing emails or doing something else. Real easy way to start there. The second way is there are a lot of consultants, that we call virtual CISO is the industry term. You can bring on board as a one-time project or on a continuing basis, who can kind of look at your business and advise you on the best way forward. Those are the things I would say for a small business.
Wonderful. Gabby, and I think, are we missing any other question, or are we?
Yes, if we have time, yes, we have another one.
Yes, I think we can go with the next one and then we'll just wrap it up.
Okay. So, what's one emerging cybersecurity threat businesses aren't paying enough attention to right now?
The latest one that everybody talks about is AI-driven cybersecurity threats, but I think that's a smaller organizations. The biggest threat are the boring ones, the phishing emails, the ransomware attacks, things where somebody left their AWS S3 bucket not locked. Just kindergarten level stuff is still the things you have to worry if you're a small business. Don't worry about the large, sophisticated actor coming after you. They're not.
So it's almost like locking the door of your car is more important than having a car alarm.
Yes, yes. Worry about locking the car door, locking the front door. Don't worry about, the real uh, high-tech alarm system for now.
Gotcha. So Roger, one of the things I'm good at is, for lack of a better term, dumbing things down a little bit, because sometimes I need to understand things at like a elementary level. So when you're saying that, I'm like, all right, how can all right, oh, I got this. So if we just do the so if the Nigerian prince is telling you that to send him $500 and he's going to send you $1 million, that's not a real thing, right?
Oh, I hope it's a real thing. I hope I get my 5 million soon, but yeah, don't click on that email. Yeah, just do the simple things first. Worry about the advanced threats later.
All right. So Roger, what I'm getting out of the majority of cybersecurity is doing the minimum does a lot, because it looks like there's so much low-lying fruit for these cyber attackers to go after, that they haven't had the need to go overly sophisticated with the small to medium-sized businesses just yet. They're saving that for the Targets and the bigger companies of the world.
True, and they're just doing the scatter shot. Find something and just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Right. The kind of threats you read about in the news, that somebody attacked Gmail, nation state, that's not the common one, right?
Got it.
So
Okay.
Wonderful. I think we're done. And thank you so much, Raja, for your time, your expertise, your feedback. I have shared on YouTube and all our live streaming platform your company website. So please go ahead and check Raja's work there, and also your LinkedIn, Raja, in case anybody wants to connect with you. We also have another webinar coming soon. Stay tuned. We're going to give more details. Follow us on social media. We are at CTI Staffing on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And Raja, again, thank you so much for your insights. And thank you guys for this amazing conversation.
Thank you so
thanks,
much.
everyone. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. You too.